All right, so are you guys ready? Let's jump in. Let's jump in. Let's go to that first topic. And you might see me looking down. When you see me looking down, just know I have my computer here. I'm looking at this same thing here, and I've got the notes because I don't want to forget anything important for you guys, okay? So if you see my eyes go down, this is what I'm doing. Okay, so first of all, let's talk about staying productive while working from home. Oh my gosh, that can be so challenging. So my very first company that I started was an entertainment company, and we did special events, live events, and we provided everything from DJs to bands to lighting, sound, video production, and they were all for live events, mostly corporate events, and we were based out of LA, so we did a lot of the movie studios when they would do movie premieres or wrap parties. So it was a lot of fun. It was great. But when I first started, I was living on my best friend's dining room floor on a mattress when I first came up with this idea. And it was difficult to get work done. I'd work on the little dining room table or whatever. Wasn't ideal. But luckily, not too long after that, the business started to take off, started to grow, and I could afford to get a home. I bought my first home. And what was great about that was I didn't have enough capital to get an office just yet. But what I did do was, I was ready to grow the company, but I did take a dedicated workspace. I took a room and turned it into an office. So I ran internet in there, computers, my printer, I think I may even had a fax machine back then, if anybody knows what that is. Google it. Look it up. Fax machine. I had everything in there that I needed, my office supplies and everything. So it was a dedicated workspace. And what's great about that is it allowed us to grow. At one point, I brought my assistant in there. And then as we continued to grow, we finally got our own office. It was in Beverly Hills, and we grew that company for 10 years before I sold it. So starting off that journey working remote, there were some things that I had to definitely distinguish. And those are the things that we're going to talk about in this module. Okay? Awesome. So the very first thing is you have to designate a workspace. Now, there are ideal ways to do this depending on the layout of your home or where you live, right? Do you live in a multi-bedroom home? Do you have a family in your home? Do you even have extra bedrooms or a spare bedroom, right? Or do you live in an apartment situation? Do you have roommates, right? Do you live in a studio? Okay, so these are questions that you're going to have to answer, but ideally you would want to have a workspace that's dedicated just for work, right? Because when you're working from home or even remotely, you might be on the couch or working from bed or working on the kitchen table and you got your stuff all over the place, right? It doesn't allow your mind to focus as much as it does when you have a dedicated workspace. And what's really cool is your brain, as soon as you have like a desk that's dedicated, for example, right? Even if it's in a one bedroom, or if you have that room, when you go into that room, your brain goes, oh, it's time to work, right? And you're going to get focused. Okay, and that's what's going to help keep you productive, is separating that work life from the home life if you're working from your house. Okay, now there's some other places to work remote as well, right? Coffee shops, for example, are great, but they come with their own set of distractions, right? But if you have a coffee shop that you like, the change of scenery, you like that ambient noise, whatever it is, and you find yourself productive there, make sure that you've got a little spot and you set up that work spot, right? So that you're not socializing with the person next to you, right? You're not people watching, right? Which are some distractions that can happen easily from working from a cafe. Or if you're working outdoors somewhere, right? Same type of thing. You want to have a dedicated work space, okay? So ideally, you're going to want to have a quiet place. If it is its own room, try to have some natural light that comes in, okay? Not light behind you because you're going to strain your eyes with your computer, but some natural light that comes in, right? Because that, we've all heard it, right? The vitamin D, it helps elevate your mood, put a little smile on your face, right? So if you have a room with a window, that is always recommended, okay? Next, make sure you have a dedicated desk, okay? Make sure you have a computer. Some of you are used to working with 2 monitors. Look, maybe your company is providing you with some things to work with at home, right? Some tools. But if it's you, it might be better for your productivity, even if you shell out a couple $100 for that second monitor, so that you can stay productive, right? Because even if you're just a little bit more productive, that's going to impact whatever goals and targets you have. We're going to talk about that in another module as well. And you're adding more value to yourself, to your company, to your team. And in the long run, that equals what? More promotions, pay raises, those types of things, right? That you want to continue to grow. So investing in something, in any of these things that are going to help you be more productive working from home, it's going to be worth it. Okay, it's totally going to be worth it. Make sure you have your office supplies. Sounds simple, right? But you need things like staplers, scissors, paper clips, binder clips in some cases, right? So make sure you have all that readily available. Pens. And make sure you have a durable printer and scanner, because it's going to be getting a lot more work than it normally does, right? As far as how many copies you're making during the week. Especially if you have kids at home, right, that are doing homework projects as well. That printer's seeing a lot of use. So make sure your printer, your scanner is up to date. You might even have to purchase a new one to make sure that you're getting, the copies that you need. Okay, quality copies. Okay, strong internet. This one's huge, right? Because this is a huge challenge. Internet can be spotty. If you're just, doing the normal things that you do in your home, maybe it's fine. But now if you've got kids that are streaming, you've got roommates that are streaming, right, and that signal's weak, we're doing a lot of video calls, right, and live Zoom calls like this. Okay, so you're going to need more bandwidth. One of the very first things that I did when I started working remote was I said, I called up the cable company, said, hey, I need your fastest internet. Yes, it was more money, but it was so worth it. Especially when I'm talking with clients, I don't want the internet to be spotty, or if I'm broadcasting or something. So make sure that you've got good, solid internet. Your phone, make sure your phone's got reception, right? Because sometimes cell phones are what we use now. And not all cell phones were created equally, not all companies, right? So have you ever been indoors and you're trying to talk to somebody and there's maybe that dead spot with your cell phone? Right? There's some tools that you guys can get. I don't know what they're called. Maybe they're called a repeater or something. But there's something that you can put into your home that will boost your cell signal so that you guys get better cell reception. So that's another great tool, especially if you're working on the phone quite a bit. And make sure you stay away from distractions. Now, distractions. This is the hardest thing, even when you're at work, right? Social media, you could check a post or something, and before you know it, 20 minutes is gone. 20 minutes you'll never get back, right? So social media, TV, a lot of us have TVs in our homes, and we're like, oh, I'll just watch one quick little episode of something, right? And that can turn into binge watching. So you got to be careful of distractions. Personal pings, when you're working remote, my suggestion is turn off pings from your email and your phone and your Twitter and your Facebook and all that stuff and your Instagram, because those pings are distractions. And you might, just kind of look down and go, ooh, what is this about? And then it could go sideways, okay? Because you really do want to stay productive. You want to stay focused, and your brain can only focus on one thing at a time. How many of you are multitaskers? Right? A lot of us think of ourselves as multitaskers. Your brain can actually only focus on one thing at a time. And when you're multitasking, it's going to a bunch of different things, but it's all in a row. Okay? So when you take out those distractions, now you can focus on whatever project you're doing, whatever proposal you're working on. And this is great even if you're working in an office, right? To be able to stay focused, because that is the key to your productivity. Okay, kids, pets, leisure books, right? If you have that book that you're reading, and you keep it on your desk, don't keep it on your desk. Put it on your nightstand or something, right? Because you don't want to be working in your bedroom where you sleep. That can cause all types of sleep problems for you. Keep your work outside of where you sleep. If you're in a studio, get some dividers, okay, so that can divide your sleep area to your work area. Okay, so that your work area is dedicated. Okay, so that's rule number one. It sounds basic, I know, but it's so important, and it's important to set those boundaries, right? Hey, when I'm at this desk, I am working. right? And then when you take a break, you get up and you go into another room, or you go, check social media or go outside, whatever. That's great. But then when you come back to that desk or that designated work area, it's work, okay? Transform your life. Okay, makes sense, guys? All right, you with me so far? All right, let's keep rolling. Okay, cool. So the next piece is time management, because time management is so tough regardless of whether you're working remote or not, right? But when you're working remote, it becomes essential to your productivity, okay? Making sure that, hey, we've got something lined up. I know what I'm doing this time, this time, this time, this time. Things change, things fluctuate, obviously, right? Because we have emergencies, we have fires to put out, and all these different things that happen. Okay, understood. But we need to make sure you have your day scheduled out so that you can maximize your productivity. Okay, so look, myself, most summers I work from Italy. My wife is from Italy. My kids, their first language is Italian. And so we go to the east side of Italy, central Italy, about 2.5 hours east of Rome. And we spend summers there. And I do have an apartment that has a dedicated workspace, right? I do have a desk there. But I'm in Italy, right? And a lot of what I do is creative. So I'm innovating. I'm thinking of different things, writing, creating. And it's really inspiring for me to sit out, have a coffee, right? If you can imagine just the smells of the coffee and Italian pasta cooking somewhere, sitting in a piazza, people coming by or whatever. And, I got my computer out, and it's very inspiring for me. But at the same time, it's very easy for me to get online, start researching something, and then get off track, right? And now I've got this great ambience, and I've just got my feet up, right? So you really have to have blocks of time scheduled specific so that during this time to this time for this hour block, okay, I'm going to be doing X, Y, and Z. Okay, make sense? Simple? All right, not always simple to not. It's very simple, but not always easy to do, right? Okay, so let's take a look at some of these pieces. So overarching goals and targets, annual targets, quarterly, right? Your monthly goals, your weekly goals, and your daily goals, okay? These are very important to track and to monitor. Okay, so at the start of each week, what I do is I'll sit down on Sunday at 4 o'clock, if I can do 4 o'clock. If I can't do 4 o'clock, sometimes it's a little bit later. But I will schedule out my week, right? And so I'll say, hey, these are the 3 to 5 big things that I need to accomplish this next week. Okay, and then what I do is I break it down, like why they're important. That's the motivation for us. Like, why must I get this thing done? And I'll write down all those different things. And then I'll say, hey, what are the things that I'm going to do, and when am I going to do them? So if for example, if I have to write a marketing campaign, I will say, okay, I'm going to work on that Wednesday from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. And it goes in there, and it's an appointment. So if somebody else calls and wants to get in there, I'll say, hey, well, I can do it before 1 or after 3. Okay, so that's locked in there. So I know that this is important. I'm going to have the time to do it, right? And I know when to do it, so I don't have to think about anything else until I get there. Does that make sense? And appointments are obvious, right? If you have a conference call or a Zoom meeting, right, you put those things in there as well. If you have to do sales calls, right, block time for your sales calls. Okay, whatever it is that you're going to be doing throughout the day, it's very easy to get off track. It's like, oh my gosh, it's a beautiful day. I live in San Diego. The beaches are open, right? So it's like very easy to say, oh gosh, I've got some friends going to the beach. Maybe I'll go to the beach. No, you can go to the beach, but schedule it in your day and make sure that you're productive and you're getting everything done that day. Okay, scheduling is the best way to do it. You've got to So get your overarching goals, create a schedule at the start of each week, and then every morning, at the beginning of every day, about 5 or 10 minutes before you start your day, make sure that you plan out the things that you're going to do. And things change, right? So if you have to change anything on your calendar for that day or move something around, like something urgent is happening, right? And you have to move that 2-hour block somewhere else, move it somewhere so that you still get it done. You just put it somewhere else in the week or somewhere else in your day. Okay, and then each scheduled event is unbreakable except for emergencies. Okay? All right, guys, listen. This is going to make a huge, huge difference in your productivity. Scheduling it, right? When you think about it, it's good, it's a great idea, but when you schedule it, now it becomes a reality. Okay? And we're going to talk about accountability around that stuff and everything. Okay? Make sense, guys? You with me? All right, let's talk about the next one. Okay, so next, routines. Routines. You have a routine. You have a morning ritual, I call it, a morning routine. You have an evening routine, and you have routines that you do during the day. Okay, so morning routine might be waking up, brushing your teeth, and before you were working remote, maybe it was jumping in your car and doing a commute, right? But now it's just waking up. You might be in your pajamas for hours. Okay, we're going to talk about that coming up too, right? So there's a routine. So you want to make sure that your morning routine energizes you, gives you energy. Working remote, you don't get to have that energy from being around the water cooler like you normally would, right? Or having a cubicle mate right next to you. Okay, you can draw energy from those things. Now, when you're working remote, you may be able to draw energy from your roommates or from your family or whatever, but for the most part, you need to be able to generate that energy. Okay, because it's going to take energy to stay disciplined and to stay focused and to get those things done that you need to get done. Okay, so the first thing is, I break it down into mind, body, and soul. So what do you do for your mind in the mornings? Okay, and by the way, your mood is going to improve if you don't already do something like this. That's okay. What a great opportunity to start doing something like this. Okay, you can read, you can journal. Listen to a training program. I'll share with you my ritual as well when I wake up in the morning. I do my mind, body, and soul. I'll share that with you in just a moment. So your body. So exercise. Some sort of exercise or some sort of movement. It could be dancing. It could be singing. Just something to get you in a good mood, get your endorphins going. Moving your body is the best way to create energy. Okay, and staying hydrated. When you're sleeping for 8 hours or 7 hours, 6 hours, some of us 5 hours, okay, you're dehydrating your body. So the first thing when you do when you wake up, drink lots of water to rehydrate yourself, okay? And then your soul, right? Some of you are religious, right? And so prayer works for you. Some of you aren't religious, but you're spiritual, right? So that might look like meditation or just quiet time with your thoughts or time for reflection, right? Just to reflect on the day before or what's coming the day ahead or reflect on your goals. That's a great thing to do in the morning just to kind of ground yourself, right? If you live out in nature, you might go for a walk or a hike or something like that, okay? So you'll get your exercise and you'll get your soul feeling good and your mind, right? So all three of those things. So what I do when I wake up in the morning, it's about 5 a.m. most days, and I'll wake up and I'll go into prayer, right? And if you don't do prayer, gratitude is great. All the things that you're grateful for, because when you're feeling grateful, your mood is really good, and you're not worried about things when you're being grateful. Have you noticed that? Yeah. So think about something right now that you're grateful for. Yeah, it makes you kind of want to smile, right? When you think about something that you're grateful for, truly grateful for. Okay. So taking just a few minutes, I spend maybe 10 or 15 minutes doing that. Okay, and then I go into something that's meditative. It's not necessarily meditation, but it's meditative in nature, where I'm doing this, and I'm visualizing different things in my mind and my goals and gratitude and etc. Right, so that's about a half hour from when I first wake up, and I feel so good already. Okay, so the next thing that I do is I'll go do cardio, because I know cardio really jumpstarts my body, for me personally, right? So I'll go run, I'll do, I've got the Stairmaster, I'll go do the Stairmaster or do something like that, right? Something that's going to get my cardio up, get my heart rate up. I know that that's going to create energy. And there's those mornings you don't want to do it. And I'm just like, oh, I don't want to do this. And I do it. I've never once done it and said, gosh, I wish I didn't do that. No, it's always the opposite, right? If I skip it, I'm like, oh, I wish I'd have done that. Okay, so I do my cardio. And then for me, I like strength training, so I work out with weights, right? So I'll do a weight workout for about an hour or so. Okay, and then I'll get dressed, get ready for work. I'll have a nice, nutritious breakfast. You want to put something. Food is fuel for you in the morning, so put something in your body that's good, not just a donut and coffee. I like coffee. Coffee's great, but also some eggs or some protein or something like that, or some cereal, some fruit. Fruit is great in the morning. Something that's going to feed your body. Now, David, what does that have to do with remote working? When you're working remote, I'm going to say it over and over and over. I just want you guys thinking in your head, I've got to create some energy. I've got to create some energy. When your energy starts to dip, what happens to your productivity? Yeah, it goes down. When your mood starts to dip, right? What happens to your productivity? It goes down, right? And you don't have that cube mate to lift you up. So you need your tools to be able to do that yourself, okay? And it's not like you're completely cut off from the rest of the world. And we're going to talk about that as well, staying social and stuff like that. But really, it's up to you when you're working remote, okay? And I want you to have as many tools as possible to bring your mood up. So listening to music. If you listen to positive music, it goes right to your nervous system, can make you smile. But be careful, because listening to sad music can do the same thing to you, right? You start playing that song of your ex-girlfriend, you're like, oh, it was such a great relationship. It wasn't a great relationship, right? But it takes you kind of back there. So be careful with that. Keep everything on the positive. It could be singing. It could be using your voice, right? That can create energy. So you guys get where I'm going with this, right? Okay, good, because it's different for everybody. So you need to find out what works best for you. Okay? All right, so here we go. Let's talk about starting and stopping. Okay? Because one of the biggest challenges, and I know that a lot of you are experiencing this, when you're working from home, it's tough to shut it off, isn't it? Right? You wake up, you start checking emails, you start responding, you start putting out fires, and just blah, right? And then even after 5 o'clock, you'll have dinner or something, and you'll go back, and you look at emails, and you just keep working. And it's tough to shut it off because you are a performer. You're a high achiever. You want to keep working, right? Sometimes that's okay. Sometimes that's necessary. A lot of times I'm working on projects till 1, 2 in the morning sometimes, depends on deadlines and things going wrong and, documents that disappear mysteriously. I went through that recently. It was tough. But now, normally, you want to schedule a start time and schedule a finish time, okay? So that you're not melding your work into your personal life too much, because it's too easy to do when you're working from home, especially, right? When you're working remote, okay? Because normally, when you leave the office, now you've got that commute to shut everything down, right? And when you're going to the office, you've got that time to turn it on. So take your time turning it on in the morning, and then, of course, shutting it off in the afternoon or in the evening. Some of you work better in the evenings, right? So maybe you'll start a little later. Okay, you'll do something else in the morning, you'll start a little later and work late into the evening. The biggest thing with productivity is to get your desired result. Okay, so that's why goals are so important, right? Those SMART goals, something specific, something measurable, something actionable, something realistic on a timeline. And you've got those goals, right? So try to create some urgency around it, some good positive things that are going to come out of it, and then schedule those things in, and it's going to be great. And when you do that, it's going to be much easier to give yourself a start and a stop time as well. Okay? Make sense, guys? All right, awesome. All right, so this is called the Ninja Tip. All right, so this is something that's worked for me, works for my clients, and hopefully it'll work for you, because this one is so important. Work 50 minutes, then take a break, move your body, meditate, drink water, deep breathing, okay? So this is something that has really helped me stay productive throughout the day, okay? Because here's the reality. So you can focus on one thing at a time. We're all my multitaskers out there. Right? We multitask, but really what's happening is your brain is focused on one thing at a time, and it just keeps looping back and forth, right? So to be really productive, you need to focus on one thing, okay? And you'll be amazed with how much you get done when you can focus on one thing. So that's why 50 minutes, if you can take 50 minutes to an hour, right? If you take that 50 minutes to an hour and focus on one thing, you will be astonished at what you can get done. Whether you're working on a project, whether you're trying to solve a problem, whether you're working with a customer or even a coworker, right? If you can do that and then recharge yourself. So what does that mean? Well, maybe you get a meditation app on your phone, for example. You love meditation. Take 5 minutes, okay, and just meditate for a second. It's going to recharge your batteries. Okay, so I work downtown here in San Diego, and after about 45 minutes, 50 minutes or so, I'll go walk around the block. I'll breathe in. When you breathe, it helps get your blood going. I'll drink water, right? I'll hydrate. That'll help change your biochemistry as well. Okay, whatever it is for you that's going to keep you motivated, keep you recharged, feeling good, right? You want your mood to be up as well. Okay, so taking those breaks, and they're little chunks, right? So 5 or 10 minutes, right? Maybe even if your stomach's growling, that's going to distract you, right? Grab a little snack, something that you can eat, a healthy snack. Okay, grab something. Okay, and then what happens is throughout the day, now you've got these bursts of energy and productivity. Okay, and it's going to blow you away with how much you get done just by taking that time. Because look, you could work 2, 3, 4, 5 hours at a time, but what happens is slowly, and you've probably felt this before, you start to get a little bit of brain fog, right? Your mind becomes a little sluggish. It's harder to focus. You don't come up with solutions as good as you want them to, right? So it's harder to work on challenges. You're not as creative in those moments, right? And it becomes a challenge. Now, there are some creative things that you do where you get into something we call flow, right? Where 5 hours might feel like 5 minutes to you, right? And you'll just be in and you're like, gosh, I don't want to stop. I don't want to stop, And that's something different, right? But typically through our workday, even if you're in flow, right? And you don't want to break it, you're afraid to break it, it's okay to break it. You recharge, you can keep thinking about that thing during that time you're recharging, and then when you come back, you're going to come back fresh with even more ideas, okay? So I spend a little time on this because I know what a difference it can make for you in your productivity, okay? All right, and so this next thing, I call it to avoid. Here's what to avoid, all right? What to watch out for. Avoid distractions. Okay, social media, TV, food, etc. One distraction leads to another and can snowball quickly, right? Because you might be thinking in your head, oh, it's just one post, right? Or oh, it's just one little snack while you're supposed to be eating. While you're supposed to be working, right? And then you're like, oh, there's some lasagna from last night, and then you end up microwaving it, and you're like, oh, let me just catch up on some news or whatever. And before you know it, you've just lost time. And then one thing leads to another, and it just takes you down the rabbit hole. Okay, so avoid distractions, especially social media, right? I mean, that's tough to, avoid anyway, whether you're in an office or you're at your house. It's even harder when you're at your house. All of us have experienced that. Okay, so avoid distractions. And then next, what to expect. So what can you expect, right, when it comes to productivity, working remotely? Okay, scheduling can be easy to plan out, but even harder to keep, right? Why? Because things are going to come up. Things are going to come up every day, right? So people are going to be asking for your time. People are going to be pulling you in different directions, whether it's a coworker, whether it's your boss, whether it's your children, your roommate, your significant other, whoever it is, okay? So keeping that schedule can be hard, because unexpected things will come up, right? And emergencies happen, okay? So be flexible enough to change, but you really want to do your best to keep that schedule so that you can keep the order to be productive, right? Because you want to make sure that the important things that you have to get done that day, that week, that month, get done, because that's going to give you the most progress towards your goals, right? Okay, so you want to stay focused, and working remote, you can be super productive, and the point is to get to those goals fast, right? Efficiently, smoothly, and with accuracy, right? So you want to make sure that you get that schedule, because that's what's going to make it happen for you. Okay? All right, you guys with me? I know that was a lot of information, but I want to give you everything that I've got. So right now, take a break, get up, stretch, breathe, move around, listen to some music, meditate, right? Get yourself recharged, and I will see you in the next module. All right, so that's what you can expect. So let's do a quick recap. First of all, make sure you have a dedicated workspace, right? That dedicated workspace is going to keep you focused. Your brain's going to know now it's time for work, okay? Number two, time management. Time management is always difficult, right? With so many different moving parts in your life and in your business, right? And trying to get work done, it's even more critical when you're working remotely, right? There's a lot more distractions and a lot more capability of maybe losing some time somewhere. Okay? And finally, routines. Your routines will help keep you motivated, help keep you energized so that you can be productive, so that you can stay focused. Okay? So those are some things. So let's do a productivity exercise. Okay? Because I want this to be practical for you. All right? So ask yourself, where is your optimal workspace where only work will take place? Okay, now you may be fortunate enough to have that place. If you don't have that place yet, think of where that place would be, okay, and then put that down. Okay, so write that down. Get real clear about that. Or if you have a workspace, how can you make it even more productive for yourself? How can you improve it? Okay, and then next, which day and time will you create your weekly schedule? What time each day will you plan your day? Okay, so make sure that you've got it scheduled on your schedule when you're going to plan your schedule. Okay, because that's so important, because a lot of times when I'm working with clients, especially when it comes to time management, they're like, oh, I didn't schedule my week, you know, and you lose so much. So you have to be intentional with your schedule, protect that time, and get everything in there, even your social stuff, right? If you're going to the beach or if you're spending time with family or your kids, right? You want to make sure that you protect that time. And if it's in a schedule, you know that you're going to be able to get everything done that you need to do. Okay? What is or does your morning routine include, right? So if you have a morning routine right now, write down what those things are. Is anything missing? Do you want to add something? Do you want to take something out? Right? Do you want to spend more time in your morning routine? And if you don't have one yet, what a great opportunity to start doing one. An intentional routine that you're going to look forward to every day. Something that you love to do. So make sure it's something that you enjoy. Okay? That when you do your morning routine, because it's for you. And everybody's different. What energizes you may be different than what energizes your coworkers. Okay? So make it specific to you. Okay. All right. So hopefully you've got a lot of information. I know this was a longer module, but I want to give you everything that I can. So take a break right now. Go ahead, answer these questions, and then stretch, breathe, walk, meditate if you want to. Hydrate yourself, get a little snack or something, and I will see you in the next module.